What's been your most successful marketing channel so far?
Word of mouth and reviews. Really, the organic stuff is where it's at. The biggest complaint about lawyers is lack of communication, and we tend to over-communicate. We are constantly sending text updates. There's no reason we shouldn't all be rated over 4 stars, but I attribute it to our client communication and letting people know what's going on in their case so that at the end of the case, if they don't get the result they expect, they're like, at least they tried, did everything they could to get this thing dismissed, even if it didn't get dismissed.
Welcome to Hot Docket, the show where we talk about winning marketing strategies that have built the most successful law firms.
Join us every 2 weeks for the latest trends and tactics to grow your law firm.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Hot Docket Podcast. Today, we have with us a very special guest, Adam Cohen of Ticket Crushers Law out of California.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Cool. So, I'd love just to start if you can give us a rundown of kind of your practice, what you guys do, and we'll go from there, okay?
Sure. So we're a traffic and DUI firm based out of the Bay Area in California. We started there just like a regional little firm and expanded statewide. We handle all sorts of traffic infractions, violations, speeding, red light camera, you name it. And we reached out into the DUI practice area too a couple of years back. And now our practice is about half DUI, half traffic tickets. But, with a firm name like Ticket Crushers, most people associate us with tickets.
As a volume firm, how has AI kind of like immediately changed the way you guys do business?
So AI in the sense of like LLMs and things like that, responding to reviews, responding to clients to make it not so harsh or to, give a bad result a little more, soft landing. We use it sometimes for sales scripts. Something that we've been doing internally with AI is taking the sales scripts from our intake guys, plugging it into like a ChatGPT or a Grok and asking it to evaluate it based on persuasiveness, ability to sell, how they handled the objection. So it's really been a learning tool internally for the staff and a training tool. As far as externally, we don't use a lot of AI per se, but we do a lot of automations. So when the attorney fills out a results form, for example, after court, it auto generates the email, automatically sends it to the client, automatically puts the next date on the attorney's calendar. So very little legal assistant work that goes in there. So not a lot of AI externally, but a lot of automations that facilitate client communication and task generation and completion.
Can you go over your tech stack for like intake management, matter management, all that sort of stuff?
Oh man, so I'll tell you where we were and then where we are now. So we were using Clio Manage, Clio Grow, Podium, LawPay, CallRail, obviously Zapier to connect all these things. We use, internally, a lot of people use Slack. We were like, we have enough apps going around. Let's just use GChat. So we're using GChat for that. What else do we use? We have, there's a whole bunch. That's the ones that come to mind. But what we did after that, having all these, we bundled them up into Lawmatics. And Lawmatics has been highly customizable and allowed us to have like cascading tasks, follow-up tasks. Where in Clio, it was each time you do something, you have to go in, set the next task, make sure it is appropriate. And that was just a lot of clicks for our support staff that we've eliminated.
Yeah, we've heard that from a lot of lawyers that the automations within Lawmatics have been very strong.
Yeah, and thankfully we found someone who helped us build it out to exact specifications because I looked at it and I was like, I could never do this.
Yeah, a lot of those tools have so much functionality that is just never used after the onboarding, and the onboarding in and of itself takes a long time and is its own sort of headache. But once you have it all set up, it's a life changer.
It's true, and every firm is different. So, even with Clio or Lawmatics, having to explain our exact practice and how each county operates differently with local rules, and each county needs a different automation and a different task list. It was really hard to explain to the developers what we were doing, so we had to find someone outside who's familiar with doing these things.
How many tasks make up like a typical matter for, let's say, tickets?
Sure. For a ticket, it's complete the intake, request a court date, notify the client of the court date, attend the court date, send the client the new court date, attend that court date, get the results. And that's pretty much every ticket.
what's crazy is we were talking to this guy, Kyle Robbins, out of Texas, Robbins Estate Planning or Robbins Estate Law, something like that. And he has insane task lists and automations built out for his practice. I wish I could remember the tool they were using because it wasn't something I was familiar with. Like I hadn't heard of it before. It was like an external runner that kind of lived outside of the CRM and drove a lot of the tasking as I remember it. But he was saying his task list for like a given, I think it was a estate planning matter, were like hundreds of tasks that were all like very, very diligently planned and sequenced. And I was just thinking like managing that must be such a cluster.
I was going to say, every time I hear someone has like that many tasks on a case, every missed task is like a potential bar complaint, a potential bad review. And it freaks me out.
Yeah.
For me, less is better when it comes to how we pay attention to each case task wise. Not that we don't handle the cases appropriately, but I much prefer a simpler workflow for each case.
Yeah. I think the problem is people tend to over optimize too early. Like there's nothing wrong with having a bunch of tasks when they properly fit the process. But when you go into it with nothing and then you build in tasks first, the problem is now you're tied to a process which might not actually work for you longer term. So I think that's typically the mistake that I see a lot of firms make.
That and attorneys have a really difficult time adhering to processes. We have a process where after every DUI, the attorney will get an email with a form that they fill out that will update the client with what happened in court, update the legal assistant with next steps, update the calendar. And getting attorneys to fill out that form is a nightmare. They're like, no, I'm just going to email it all to the legal assistant. And it's like, but then they're going to fill out the form and that's not the process. Right. But that's how I've been doing it for years. Right. But that's not how you do it at this firm. So yeah, the legal assistants and intake guys, they have no problem, following the system because they know it works, but the attorneys always know best.
So what you're saying isn't that
I don't even follow my own processes.
Right. You're not saying that attorneys aren't process oriented. You're saying that they want their own process and it needs to be their thing. Correct.
So getting a firm-wide process going is very difficult on the legal side of things.
I don't think that's legal specific. I can tell you from our business, you're always fighting like mindset and kind of like patterns of doing things, and it's always an uphill climb. I wish we had like a really strong answer to it. The only thing that seems for sure to work is figuring out like the incentive structure behind why you should follow the process, but that has its own pitfalls. So I don't know. It for us, it's something that we are thinking about too.
I'm glad to know I'm not the only one going through it.
No, definitely not. Why don't you walk us through your background? So I know that you came into all this with a very different idea of what you were going to be doing, and you turned out to be a great lawyer. But why don't you give us the history?
So I'll start from the beginning. I was coaching swimming, and I told my parents I wanted to be a college swim coach, and they're like, great, you're not going to college if that's what you think you're doing. It's like, all right, let me go be a ski bum for a year and see how that works out. So I did that, and then I was like, this is not going to work. This easy life needed it to be harder. So I went to UM for undergrad, University of Miami. And in my last year there, I got an opportunity to work for the Florida Marlins. And it was as their in-game entertainment intern. So, making $100 a week. I had to go to all 81 games, had to be there like 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., 7 p.m., and then 11 p.m. on game days. And I was like, this is it. This is my new career. I want to be in sports. And they put me in the mascot costume. So I was Billy the Marlins backup for a year. And every Sunday I was Billy the Marlins' mother to do the chicken dance on the field. I was like, all right, Mom and Dad, I'm not going to be a swim coach. I'm going to be a baseball mascot. Like, oh my God, why don't you talk to someone about this? So I went and I talked to the team president at the time. He's like, you're young, you're smart, you don't want to work in sports, and if you do, you need a law degree, I'm telling you, or else you're going to be selling tickets or being the mascot, and that's not what someone like you wants to do. Truthfully, it is what I wanted to do, but I took his advice. I went to law school anyway. And I ended up at Loyola, like dreaming about like, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to be the next Jerry Maguire. This is going to be awesome. And while I was there, I got to work in the DA's office, and they like just threw me right into it. They let me do felony trials. You know, my supervisor sat in the back of the courtroom. So here I am, a law student, you know, at counsel's table alone. My first appearance was in front of Judge Ito from the OJ trial. And I got a taste of that. And I was like, this is great. This is where it's at. And everyone who was in the sports and entertainment section in law school were a bunch of schmucks. They were not people I wanted to deal with for the rest of my life. You know, the DAs and the PDs seemed more grounded and down to earth. So I was like, okay, I could get into this career. And I moved back to Miami. It was 2008. So like Great Recession's going on, the hiring freeze is going on. Somehow I managed to get a job at the prosecutor's office in Miami, and rest is history. Went from there out on my own, and then moved to California and opened Ticket Crushers.
And why Ticket Crushers? Why not a PI firm? Why not going into big law?
You know, I wish I had a time machine. I'd go back and do a PI firm, because everything I'm doing now would translate to a PI firm as far as the software and the tasks and the marketing and everything. It's just, you go to law school and they tell you big law is where it's at, you know, and nobody's pushing you to be a PI lawyer and telling you, listen, you want to get rich, you want to make money, that's where it's at. And if you're a hustler, do personal injury. Instead, they're telling you you're either going to change the world or you're going to go bill hours or all this stuff. So I had no experience other than working at the state attorney's office as far as criminal law. And, you know, you see all these old timers, like we called them, rolling up to court in their Corvettes or whatever, you know, 1989 car they bought back when the drug trade was huge in Miami. You're like, okay, the money's in private criminal defense. So I got a job working for a firm in Miami. It's actually the largest ticket firm probably in the country. And I was doing their DUI work. And the owner of that firm was doing really, really well for himself. I never saw him at the office. I barely interacted with him. And everyone at the office was, you know, grinding out the tickets, grinding out the DUIs. And I was like, I could be in charge of something like this. So I looked around. I was licensed in California. LA already had a pretty saturated market. And I was like, okay, the Bay Area, this is where it's at. And I moved out there thinking it's going to be an overnight success. And it's interesting. Different regions have different timelines for where they are in like the legal practice. And it seems like the Bay Area is super far ahead in tech and probably commercial litigation and things like that. But when it comes to personal injury or criminal law, they're still operating in the late 90s, early 2000s. Like I got on the radio, I put radio ads on first, and I immediately was hated by all the other ticket firms. It's like, I'm not doing anything unusual here, guys. Like, you could have done this years ago. I'm sorry. But it was really weird to see how behind the times criminal defense was in the Bay Area.
What's been your most successful marketing channel so far?
Word of mouth and reviews. Really, the organic stuff is where it's at. The biggest complaint about lawyers is lack of communication, and we tend to over communicate. We are constantly sending text updates, constantly sending email updates. And unless you literally hire the worst traffic attorney on earth, you're going to get an okay result. I mean, we get better results than most because we have a system where I really want to try the cases. I really want to appeal things that are unjust. I want to create, you know, change courtroom culture and create relationships with the court staff and the judges. But all these firms can get you the same results, just about. There's no reason we shouldn't all be rated over 4 stars. But I attribute it to our client communication and letting people know what's going on in their case, so that at the end of the case, if they don't get the result they expect, they're like, at least they tried, you know, did everything they could to get this thing dismissed, even if it didn't get dismissed.
You know, you said unless you're the worst ticket attorney on earth. Part of me wanted to ask you who's the worst ticket attorney on earth, but I'm going to ask you like the next best question to me, which is what's like the biggest horror story case you've kind of seen, whether it's like you got somebody who fired their attorney and they came to you, or maybe it's just like the client.
I mean,
or
horror
whatever.
Story in terms of bad driver, or horror story in terms
Dealer's
of
choice. Dealer's choice.
Both.
Yeah.
Maybe start with the worst driver.
Oh my God. We have some clients, obviously I can't mention them by name, but they're hiring us on their 30th ticket, and we've only been in business for 10 years. and like we keep them on the road and we're talking over 100, over 100, over 100, and we keep getting them off. And it's really fascinating. The clients who are like, hey, you guys deal with it. Don't even worry. Just let me know what happens. Get the best results. The clients who call every day and it's their only ticket, it's like Murphy's Law. They get the worst result. The ones who don't care are the best.
Why do you think that is?
The energy they're putting into the universe.
Fair.
I actually would have thought the opposite. It would have been like the things they're not doing. Like they're not talking. Those may be the same type of people who are not like admitting guilt to cops when they first get pulled over or not whatever.
I'll be honest, you don't win on those things. What you win on is the cop not showing up. That's a huge one. And it's loopholes. It's all like, oh, they didn't testify they weren't wearing a uniform. Oh, they didn't bring their calibration in. They forgot to mention the driver by name. So we only win on technicalities. I hate to say it, most of our clients actually committed the offense.
The funny part too is with traffic tickets, that you did it, but you still feel upset about it. Like, oh, this is just...
I think what's crazy too is it's like the game that everyone just forces themselves to play. Like, you could just enforce everything with photo. Like, there's no reason that you have to play the whole game of cat and mouse with cops and like, oh, did he catch me? Is he going to be in that hiding spot? Like, you just do it all with photos and like technology, but they don't.
No, don't do that. The violation of due process right there, in my opinion. You can't confront a camera in court, and to me, it's part of the American system. Being able to face the cop in court and win on a technicality. I mean, the standard's beyond a reasonable doubt, not actual innocence,
There's nothing more American than that. Just
than
like
loopholes.
Doing it the wrong way over and over just to win on a technicality.
Correct.
I love it.
We're a competitive society. The cameras are a slam dunk for the government. And to me, that's anti-American. The government shouldn't have slam dunks against the citizens.
That's a hot take, but I love it. I can't agree. I don't know that I can agree with it because we're like tech forward. We're a tech agency in many ways. And I believe in the power of technology and kind of like making things better with tech. So it's hard for me to be like, yeah, something that's objective as like a camera shouldn't be admittable or like the future. But I understand your point on the flip side of it.
I look at it like sports. Okay. Do you want referees who can accidentally screw up the game, which is part of the game? Or do you want cameras and that's out of bounds because the red line caught, the laser caught it? To me, I like that uncertainty thrown into it.
Well, you still have a little bit of both right now. You still have cameras to review things in sports as well as
but I think the problem with that is you don't really feel that way because if it's something more serious like a murder, you want to rely on the camera evidence. Like you're not going to be like, don't use the cameras because they shouldn't be allowed. Like, but for something that's lesser, we don't have that same standard.
So I'm looking at it from the traffic attorney standpoint. So I'll give you an example. Red light cameras. Okay. Everyone on earth makes a right turn on red without coming to a complete stop, as long as it's safe. And no cop on earth is going to pull you over for making that safe right turn on red. So we get a lot where they're making the right on red and then the other direction of traffic is taking a left. So they're essentially blocking any car from interfering with the guy taking the right on red. If the camera snaps them, it's a $500 ticket. And to me, that's so unjust. Like there's no gimme there.
Isn't there something too where a lot of the camera systems in different areas, a vast majority of the money paid isn't even like being collected by the government, where there's like third parties that sit in the middle? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So, a company will come in and say, hey, let us install this red light camera system and we'll split the revenue like this, or we'll pay you a contract, but we get all the revenue. And to me, that's also very dangerous. People love complaining about private prisons and the prison industrial complex, but it really starts with traffic tickets. Most people, their only interaction with court and the criminal justice system is going to be a cop pulling them over and the judge that they see. And Certain judges get it. You could see him on YouTube. That guy, Judge Frank, he's very sympathetic. Other judges just don't get it.
Is that the older white guy, Judge Frank?
Yes.
That might not be a super descriptive description.
Older white guy who handles traffic tickets on YouTube in New York.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. And he gets it, and I'm slowly chipping away. There's a certain county in San Francisco that is super draconian. And I mentioned to one of the judges, I'm like, you're really screwing people over. Like, did it off the record. Like, you're screwing people over here. Like, this is a guy taking a right turn on red. He's not causing any harm. He's not doing anything. And you're dinging him $500 plus whatever he paid me, plus the point on his license if he's not school eligible, all for something we all do.
And the increase in insurance.
Right. That's what I mean by the point, the increase in insurance. And I told the judge, there's case law that says traffic court needs to be a little lenient because this is the only experience a lot of the public has in court.
Strongly agree with that.
Yeah. So he started reducing a lot of my fines when I made that argument, and I'm kind of like changing that culture. But he made a comment. He's like, yeah, well, now that you're in front of me, I'm the only judge who's lowering these fines. Is that fair to everyone else? And I was like, are you suggesting that you should not follow the law because none of the other schmuck judges in this county follow the law? Okay, I see your point. I'll reduce the fine. It's like, geez, man, like, cut these people a break.
Do you think that you've swayed me, like, by and large on a lot of these points, by the way. Do you think that as a whole, your practice area is is there more room for growth as a whole, or do you think the market's saturated for your practice area?
It depends on the city and the state and what's going on. So Florida, you get a traffic ticket in Florida and you will get about 30, 40 mailers of traffic attorneys trying to get your business. And chances are, no matter who you hire, you're going to get one of 5 coverage attorneys, no matter which firm you hire. So then it does come back to client communication. Do they feel taken care of? So yeah, Florida, for example, is saturated. Then there's other states where I've been getting calls and I'm like, well, maybe I could establish a relationship with a lawyer out there and we could start, we could partner up and do ticket crushers, Washington State, South Carolina. And it's impossible to find attorneys out there. South Dakota. I've been getting a ton of calls for commercial drivers in South Dakota. No attorney I could find out there that'll help out or that even does traffic. I think self-driving cars are going to become an issue. I think with what you said, the cameras, at the end of the day, tickets are revenue generation for the government. So of course the government wants the cameras and they're going to say it's for safety and to keep the road safe. No, it's not. It's to make money. Cameras have been proven to cause more accidents.
How?
So if there's a red light camera and you're speeding, you're going to slam on the brakes right when the light turns yellow and you might not make it to avoid that $500 fine. Whereas if you just kept your foot on the gas, you'd make it through. So it's causing people to make a split-minute decision against safety, potentially.
Interesting.
And I could cite to those studies if, I could Google them because they exist. But of course, there's studies the other way too. Like you just pick the study you think is right.
Makes me wonder if there's some sort of PI traffic lawyer type of play where it's like a billboard that's like don't break speed or something, and then it takes a picture, and then the guy who does break, or if it just was a billboard that was like there's a traffic camera here.
Either direction you put your foot, you're going to have to hire a lawyer.
Correct. That's kind of the point. Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Well, by law, they have to have signs at the intersections that say that this is
I didn't know that.
Electronically enforced.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I think that's a pretty good stopping point. This was really interesting. I went from feeling like everything should be tech enforced to feeling like it should be the Wild West. So my mind personally has been changed.
Yeah, if you really wanted to bring tech into it, you go the self-driving route, and then the cars aren't going to be capable of causing the issue. You don't want to just tech enforce with cameras to be revenue generating for the government, sort of. Like, there's a better way to do tech enforced if you felt that way, right?
Yeah, but I don't think that there's ever going to be a situation where the cars don't allow you to speed. What if you have an emergency and you need to speed? They're going to artificially cap it.
You could probably put a button just for that.
but then they'll be speed.
An emergency.
Then everyone's going to use it.
Auto drive button.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
My wife's in labor button.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what it'll be called. Adam, thanks for joining. This was a great episode. You can catch Adam, I guess, at Ticket Crusher's Law, which we'll put the link to. If there's anywhere else that, after we catch up, we could put links to, we will as well. But thanks for joining us, Adam.
Thank you for having me. It was a good time.
Catch you on the next Hot Docket. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Hot Docket. We're your hosts, Bobby and Andrew, founders of MeanPug, the marketing agency for ambitious law firms.
Have questions about marketing or anything we covered today? Email us at bark@meanpug.com. Be sure to subscribe to learn more. Until next time.